Today we're going to take a look at some bonus material for the closed hip twist. Cue titles.
3, 2, and whoa, 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 whoa.
La la la, dancing.
So here we have some footage from the 94th Ballroom Blitz on the closed hip twist that didn't quite make it to the final cut. Now, often footage doesn't make it to the final cut because we get halfway through a little spiel and then stumble and we have to redo it. And the blitzes are pretty much mostly off the cuff. They're not scripted. So if you get halfway through and lose your train of thought, it just goes. And so the whole thing gets put in the bin. But in this case, it went the other way. Lindsay and I were super tired. We were trying to build up a bank of blitzes to get ahead before the Christmas rush. And we started in on looking at particular techniques for leading and things like that. And it got to the end and Lindsay looked at me and said, don't go any further than that. She actually sort of said, I'm not doing the pressed point stuff after all that. And when I watched it back, it was really good stuff, but it was sort of 3 minutes of really overloaded technique and it just didn't fit the blitz. It sort of made it far too long and it was already long enough. So good quality material, but it didn't make it to the cut because it was just too much in one blitz. But it's also too good to waste. So if you are into the social Latins and you've been dancing some rumba or cha-cha and you've been trying out some hip twists, and if you're a lead and going through that, this gives you a little bit more of the arm work and things like that that is an addition to it. And of course, if you're not, but you want to crack into it, and if you're just coming to the channel recently, you can have a look at the Ballroom Blitzes. Number 94, I'll leave a link in the description, and this is an added to that, mainly for the leaders, but the follows will always get something out of it too. So let's have a look at the 94.5 Ballroom Blitz, the bonus material. So if we now have a look at what's happening up top, especially for the leader, because there's a lot of tension and tone work here to get this move working smoothly and so that the follow doesn't feel like they're getting wrenched from pillar to post. I'm going to push a little bit through this hand in a bit of a circular motion that kind of follows the natural movement of my body. So if I take my side step and don't move that hand, that of course makes no sense. So if I move that and push, you can see here, my arm isn't doing lots and lots of work. I'm not really pushing and shoving, and it's not staying at eye height. I'm allowing it to move down naturally, and that push is very gently coming through the palm. That translates through to the follow's shoulder, which turns them and pushes them back. Now, they're going to be somewhat expecting this. If you've got them to this position, the follow's not going to be uber surprised that this is going to be a hip twist. So you shouldn't feel too much resistance, but we really don't want to yank and push too much. So we have that first part here. Now the rock in place to make sure that the follow doesn't turn too early, and sometimes we want to get a bit of a jump on the turn of what we think is to come. I'm going to hold and give a little bit of resistance here, a little bit of encouragement on the shoulder blade just to rock onto that foot, but not allow any turn to happen. But now this is where the real magic sort of happens. I have to flick the shoulder blade so that when Lindsay takes her first walk of the chassé, she starts walking forward and then flicks around and still walks forward but outside of me for the cha. Now that's really done if we change position here. If we have taken out 2, 3, I'm still using the shoulder blade, but there's a little bit of finger work here just to press and turn and enable that step to actually turn in place rather than a bit more of a push with the palm to guide the follow in front, which you might do with other figures like a natural opening out movement, for example. Once we get that step and we communicate that the follow wants to stay outside, the rest of the cha you can pretty much take a bit of a break. And we have 2, 3, keep outside, and 1. And now we want to allow this movement to happen. You can kind of decide when you want it to happen, whether you do it on 1 or closer to 2, and you'll change that depending on the look and how advanced you want it to be. But essentially I'm holding here, giving a small push on the shoulder blade to enable that turn once the follow is on the 1 foot and not in transit. And now we're lightly pulling and pushing out 1, and 2. Again, we have to land this foot before we get any other input. This hand is now useless. I don't want to push to get the follow to turn. That really doesn't work. So basically this hand can take a break. I'm going to encourage with this hand that movement by pulling back this way. And now we're into our cha-cha. A light push back the other way using the back of the hand. 4 and 1. And then just making sure that we don't overdo it and get too stretched. So that last push doesn't want to be too big. So a lot of arm work happening, a lot of nuances, but with a little bit of practice, really, really nice and easy and fairly straightforward in sequence as we go. So we push, hold to rock, push and cha, turn, push, push, pull with the opposite hand and cha.